Hi guys, Aviation JFK here, back here with another video. Today is another how-to video on the channel. And as you can see, the airport is looking a little bit different today. And that is because I'm going to be showing you how to weather your model airport to your liking and to scale. So in this video, I'm going to be covering a few different techniques and tips that you want to keep in mind when undergoing operations like this to your model airport, because it can make it look really good, but if done incorrectly it can mess it up quite well. And there are a few sections that I did mess up, just a few, but yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So the first thing you're going to need, or the main thing that you're going to need for this is an airbrush. Now, this is the airbrush that I use. It's a cheap eBay one, and I have this like little air compressor which is down there on the floor, you can see, and I use that to run this little single action airbrush. There are various different types of airbrushes out there, but I feel like the single action is the best one for beginners. Now, I've used both. I've had experience with both. Because I make model aircraft, so like scale model aircraft, and I use a dual action, and they're very good airbrushes as soon as you have to clean them, and the cleaning process is just absolutely terrible, and you need a ton of different chemicals depending on what paint you use, and I went through 2 of them purely because I was not able to clean them properly. Now, I presume that most of my viewers are younger, so I would assume that if you were interested in getting an airbrush, it would be a single action one, and also single action is so much cheaper. The bundle that I got on eBay was about $50, and as you can see, I think some of the results that I got from it were absolutely amazing. And an airbrush is such a universal tool with projects like this, because basically my whole airport is made using an airbrush. And if you don't exactly know what an airbrush is, it is a little device. I'll show you right here. It's a small device where paint. This is the single action one. It has this button which you press. The air feeds through here. And then this button is how you release the air. And through here is the little hopper, or the feed, I guess you could say. If it will focus, you can see the air runs over the hole in this golden nozzle. And then that creates a vacuum inside the nozzle of the paint chamber. And that sucks the paint out. Now, you can adjust this. See if it will focus. You can adjust this like needle thing. You can adjust this to the amount of paint you want. All that a dual action airbrush does is allow you to control it with this single trigger. But the drawback is that the paint runs through the whole chamber. With this, you only have to clean 3 or 4 parts. And this one comes with a really nice cleaning kit. And it's like basically a portable spray can, or a reusable spray can. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to get straight into some of the time lapses that I did. So yeah, and just before we get into that, I'm just going to point out some of the techniques that I used to do this. So as you can see, an airbrush can spray thick paints like this or this here, but it can also do like weathering, like as you see here, and that's about all about the paint control. So you always want to do light thin coats, and also these gray parts are new as well. You want to mask those off, and then the weathering is the very last thing you do to your model airport. And I feel like it adds a real touch of realism to the airport, and it just makes it adds like a hint of realism to it. And the reason why I have airbrushes lying around is because I make models like this one here, and this one here, and this one here. Airbrushes are like perfect for getting the long smooth surfaces like the greys, and it gives it just really does open up the capabilities that you can add to your model airport. So yeah, onto the weathering. So I've just finished masking off all these little bits that are going to be painted into the new, or like extended grey panels on the terminal to give it a bit more depth. So I've masked them off, and I'll be painting over them in just a minute. So cue the time lapse. So we've now finished the spray painting section. I've painted all, some of these areas will be lighter grey than the others. But yeah, I'm going to be peeling these back, and then tomorrow I'm going to be weathering. So it looks like some of the areas have kind of flaked a little bit. See there, it's not the best, but I mean, it does, it's, in real life it doesn't look perfect either way. But yeah, this paint, I need to draw paint pen over some of these, because some of them went over some of like the lines for the road and some other bits. So I'm gonna start the time lapse now and peel everything back, and then I'll get back to you when it's all peeled back. So I finished peeling back all the tape from the grey parts. From distance, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. The grey still does look like the grey looks freshly painted. So I'm going to be dimming down or heavily weathering the airport, probably in the next 1 or 2 days, depending on how quickly this paint dries. Because I need to do all the other yellow markings and white markings before I can move on to actually weathering it. Because I don't want a bright yellow line above my like soot that's going to be on the gates. And I'm going to be heavily weathering it so that it like looks like the apron is well worn down. And the same with the taxiway, because the taxiway at the moment looks pretty dull, and it's like a one color base thing. So I kind of, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding grass very soon. I just don't have the money for it at the moment. And also I couldn't find a place that actually had the grass I was looking for in stock, because I'm filming this during the pandemic. But yeah, I'm going to be heavily weathering some of like these parts, and the gates and everything. It's going to look well dimmed down, and it's going to look well used like the actual JFK. So yeah, I'll get to you when I start weathering the next part. And actually, before I move on to the weathering part of the airport, I just want to talk about some of the pros and cons of using an airbrush. Now, if you watched my how to build a model airport video, you know that I spray painted these bits with the airbrush as well, and that took me a very long time. But for little sections like this here, and here it's like absolutely perfect. And as you'll see later, the weathering as well, it's like really good for just dimming down shades if you just want a really light layer of paint on everything. And that's what it's really good for. I recommend a single action airbrush for beginners, which is the one that I have. It's the one where the paint doesn't flow through the whole airbrush, and you don't really have to control. You can't control the amount of paint flow unless you adjust it by the nozzle at the front. And that works best for me because I've had dual action airbrushes in the past, and they just failed on me as I'm not that good at cleaning. And yeah, so I've already started weathering this area, as you can see. Ignore the air compressor going off in the background, but I'm gonna time lapse the rest of this now, so enjoy.
I hope you found this video helpful in some sort of way. Please consider subscribing. We're almost at 200 subscribers. I really want to get there by the end of the month. Please drop a comment to let me know if you found this video helpful at all. And with that, it's been Aviation JFK signing off.